You're listening to How to Drink Less, and I'm your host, Adriana Cloud. Whether your goal is to cut back, take a break, or say goodbye to alcohol for good, this podcast will help you stop drinking on autopilot, learn how to manage cravings, and feel fully in control around alcohol. It's easier than you think. Listen on to find out how. Hey everyone, welcome back to How to Drink Less. I have a strange question for you today. Do you even like drinking? Because I have this theory that actually many of us who end up at a place where we drink more than we want to, we don't actually like drinking. Now, let me first say there's a difference between wanting something and liking something. When we want something, we want the idea of it. We want it in the future. We're anticipating it and how it will make us feel. We're projecting, really. We're guessing. It's all theoretical. If I say I want a peach, that peach is very abstract in my mind. It doesn't actually exist. I'm just imagining a peach that will look a certain way and smell a certain way and taste a certain way when I bite into it, and it will give me a particular kind of enjoyable sensation. But when I'm wanting the peach, this is all imaginary. It's not real. On the other hand, liking something has a lot more to do with your real experience in the present moment. It's peach season here, and I love peaches, so stick with my peach analogy. When I've just taken a bite out of a real peach, I can then answer the question of whether I actually like that peach or not. Am I enjoying the experience? Is it as juicy and as sweet as I was hoping that it would be? Is it satisfying my need for a delicious treat? That's what liking is about. So when we talk about drinking, people will often say that they like drinking and that's why they struggle to give it up, because they will feel deprived and they will have FOMO. But what I want you to unpack with me today is whether you actually like the experience of drinking or you've just taught your brain to want alcohol in certain situations. Here's my theory. We don't actually like drinking, or not as much as we think we do. It's just that we've been drinking for so long and so often that the familiarity of the ritual is what we like and crave, rather than the actual liquid in the glass. We mistake familiarity for enjoyment. And this is all very normal and very human. Our brains are wired to prefer things that are familiar. From an evolutionary standpoint, familiarity signals safety. In a dangerous world, the brain is wired to prioritize what is known because the unknown could be dangerous. A new person might be an enemy. An unfamiliar fruit might be poisonous, and so on. It feels safer to be around things that we already know. And familiarity is energy efficient. When we encounter something or someone familiar, the brain doesn't have to work very hard to make sense of it or analyze it and draw conclusions, because we already know what to expect. This saves mental resources and makes us feel comfortable and secure, which is why routines and habits become so ingrained. The more familiar something is, the more our brain associates it with comfort and ease. Now, if you would describe yourself as someone who likes Pinot Grigio or craft IPAs or very smoky scotches, I'm not saying that all of that is a lie. I'm not trying to convince you that you don't like alcohol at all. You must like it enough if you're drinking. But what we're trying to do is to start poking some holes into any deep-seated beliefs that you like it so much that you will be miserable without it. What do you like about it? Get super curious. Pretend that you're a scientist exploring the minute details of your preferences. There's two reasons I'm asking you to do this. First, because, as I've suggested, you might discover that you don't actually like drinking as much as you thought you did. Not the act and not the taste of it. In fact, you might be shocked by the difference between your actual lived experience and the story you have in your mind about what drinking is like and how much pleasure it brings you. So that's the first reason, to put that belief under the microscope and look at it more critically. And the second reason is that Once you understand what you like about drinking and about alcohol, that information gives you power over your habit. If you can name exactly what it is you like, then it's a lot easier to look for substitutes or to dive even deeper on your own thoughts about alcohol and flip some of them on their heads. The more awareness you have, the more options you have. If you just think, I like red wine too much and I can't ever imagine having pizza without it, so obviously I can't ever give it up, that kind of thinking keeps you stuck. But if you poke at that belief and you get curious about it, you might be surprised what nuggets of insight you might come across that can help you to reframe your entire outlook on pizza night. So let's start with the act of drinking. Think about where you normally are when you drink. What time of day is it? Who are you with? What are you doing? What is the context of your drinking? We don't often think about that. We tend to focus more on the alcohol itself when we think about drinking, but the context is a huge part of our habit and our experience. And it's actually very important to spend some time thinking about that because you might actually realize that the ritual is what you like, not the drink itself. We all have our rituals and routines, so think about yours right now and zero in on what, if anything, you find enjoyable about it. Some people are really into mixology and they find pleasure in the act of mixing different spirits and bitters and playing with garnishes and different ice cubes. Some people like to sit down with a beverage before dinner and do a crossword puzzle. For others, the time when they get to pour a drink is their me time. So it might be that the act of opening a beer or pouring a glass of wine or a bourbon is the ritual that signals to their bodies and their brains that they're now allowed to relax. Or maybe you and your partner have a routine where you have a drink together, and that's the precious bonding time the two of you have in your otherwise crazy, hectic lives. Maybe the act of curling up on the couch and sharing stories about your day, or just sitting in pleasant silence next to each other as you scroll on your phones. Maybe it's less about what you were drinking and more about just sharing that moment. Uncoupling the act of drinking from the actual liquid in the glass is crucial. I hear this from clients all the time, that once they start paying attention, they realize the alcohol is secondary, and what they're more attached to and what they don't want to let go is what the alcohol signifies, what it provides symbolically rather than literally. Is that nightly pre-dinner drink a treat you tell yourself you've earned because of how hard you've worked? Are you perhaps looking forward to the moment when you get to put your feet up and press play on your favorite show, rather than the glass of wine that usually accompanies that? Be onto yourself. Unpack what the ritual and the routine of drinking really symbolize for you, because you might just discover that you could very easily keep the routine and the ritual even while losing the alcohol. One of my clients realized that what she really wanted once she was done with work and before she was ready to start making dinner was not so much the glass of wine she was accustomed to having, but a little snack. Alcohol had been the easy choice for a long time, but once she started to pay attention, she ended up swapping that for a non-alcoholic beverage and a snack, and she didn't even miss the wine. Another client realized that she was drinking because when she had a drink in her hand, that was her permission to sit down and relax. If she wasn't drinking, she felt like she had to be productive and keep tidying up or do something. But somehow, once she had poured herself a drink, then she felt she was allowed to sit down and read her book. So when she recognized that, we worked on helping her believe that she was allowed to rest when she needed to, and she didn't need to drink to justify resting. I wonder what you will discover about your own story about drinking and what it allows you to do or to believe. Don't skip this exercise. And now, let's talk about the alcohol itself. Because some of you will tell me that you do actually love the taste of whatever your favorite drink is. And I believe you. But tell me, when was the last time you paused and really noticed what your favorite drink tastes like? When was the last time You drank it mindfully and truly savored it and stayed present with how the flavor changes and develops from the moment you smell the drink to when you take the first sip and when you swallow and the aftertaste. Because if it's really the taste that you like, then the least you can do is slow down and truly enjoy every second of the experience, right? Truly relish it and make it last. But that's not what we do. I used to love Negronis when I was a drinker. But if you ask me when I ordered a Negroni, did I slow down to smell the citrus or the bitterness, to appreciate the color, to savor that first sip touching my lips, and then to enjoy the flavors as I drank the rest of it? Absolutely not. Much as I love Negronis, I drank them mindlessly, the way I drank everything. I was more focused on whether other people would notice how fast I was drinking, and was it too soon to order a second drink, and what if no one else ordered another drink? Would they judge me if I ordered one more? And what if no one wants to get wine with dinner? And do I have enough wine at home to continue drinking once I get back? That's what I thought about, not about the taste of the cocktail in my hand, which I claimed to love. So, my challenge slash invitation for you is if you claim to love the taste of alcohol, then slow down and really pay attention to it next time you drink. Make it a habit to slow down. A few things might happen. First, when we slow down and pay attention to what we put in our mouths, we tend to consume less because when we are actually present with our experience and our senses, it's easier to notice when we've had enough. The brain and the body work quite well together on this one. It's just that we normally are not paying attention. Think about what happens when you drink while you're watching TV. If you're like most people, at some point you will look over and be surprised that your glass is empty because you were drinking mindlessly on autopilot. But when you pay attention and you're present, you will enjoy it more. And if you're chasing a buzz, you will be more likely to notice when that buzz hits, rather than continuing to drink until you've gone overboard. So when you slow down, you might increase your enjoyment and potentially drink less because you've actually been present to feel however the drink makes you feel. Or the opposite might happen if you slow down and pay attention. You might realize that your drink of choice, it's not actually that pleasant. You might realize that you're just so used to the flavor, you barely register it. But when you tune in, it's not actually that nice. I hear this from my clients all the time too. Everyone seems to have that moment where they're having a drink, maybe even one that they've been anticipating for a while and truly looking forward to. But then it turns out they're not enjoying it at all. It happens surprisingly often. Humans are not actually programmed to like alcohol. Most people find the taste of alcohol unpleasant the first time they try, and this initial aversion is part of our evolutionary design. Alcohol is technically a toxin, and we have evolved to find certain tastes unpleasant so that we might stay away from substances that are potentially harmful. So when we first try alcohol, whether your parents let you take a sip of their wine when you were a kid, or maybe an older cousin snuck out a beer and let you try it, I bet you did not initially think it was delicious. You probably learned to like it through exposure. It's an acquired taste for most people. And what's acquired can be unacquired. So do not be surprised to realize that you don't actually love the taste that you've been claiming to love for years, if not decades. And finally, think about how alcohol makes you feel. Because that's the other thing that people often say, that they like how alcohol makes them feel. I have said that in the past, and I believed it too. But I want you to gently and lovingly challenge that claim. First of all, can you get more specific? Exactly how does alcohol make you feel? And then ask yourself, when? At what point are you measuring how you feel? Because I guarantee you that feeling is anything but static. How do you feel when you first have the thought, a drink will be nice? How do you feel when you take the first sip? How do you feel at the end of the first drink? How do you feel when you realize you're not fully in control anymore because you've somehow finished the bottle, even though you were planning to just have one glass? How do you feel the next morning? Yes, when you zoom out, how alcohol makes you feel covers more than just the time it takes you to finish one drink. It starts before the drink touches your lips, and it stretches into the next day and sometimes into the next couple of days. So, if you're one of those people who believes that you like how alcohol makes you feel, ask yourself if that's really true during the entire interaction with alcohol. Okay, maybe that first glass was relaxing, but how are you feeling that night when you woke up at 3 a.m. with your heart racing? How did you feel the next morning when the alarm went off and you realized you were too hungover to go to the gym like you'd planned to? You have to be honest with yourself about those moments too when you consider how alcohol makes you feel. One time, a client said to me that if any food ever made her feel the way that alcohol made her feel, she would never eat that food again. But for some reason, with alcohol, we make excuses. We focus on the positive and forget the negative. Notice if you do that, if you tend to ignore that alcohol doesn't only make you feel good. To be clear, this is not about gaslighting yourself or trying to scare yourself sober. There will be times when you like how alcohol makes you feel, and there will be times when a cold beer hits just right on a hot day. I'm not saying you should pretend this isn't true. But as I've already said, identifying what specifically you like about drinking will help you to find alternatives if you're so inclined. And you might just discover that you have more options and the reality is not as set in stone as you thought. So start asking yourself if you really like drinking or if it's just the familiarity of the ritual and the taste that you like. And start asking yourself what you like about it. Because the better you know your desires and your habits, the more power and leverage you have to change them. And if you're looking for support on how to do that, I've got you. 5 years ago, I could not have imagined that I would ever get to a point where I don't miss alcohol and I don't want to drink. But now, there is no drink anyone can offer me in any situation that would even remotely tempt me. And if you want to get to this point too, I can help. So book a consultation by the link in the show notes and let's talk. I hope you have a wonderful week and I'll talk to you soon. If you're looking for practical advice for how to say no to alcohol and say yes to yourself, you will want to get on my email list. Sign up to receive my free guide with 7 steps to kickstart your sobriety. The link is in the show notes, so go and grab it now, and I'll see you soon in your inbox.